Hi everyone. Let me share my screen really quick. Yeah. Okay, this streaming session is for the Omdena project of the Córdoba Hub, detecting and monitoring land use transformation in Córdoba, Argentina, basically detecting deforestation, but we want to do it in a monthly basis or some strategy like that to be able to find deforestation really quick. And at least make the notifications to the particular players interested in this information. Yeah, we are working on this through a beautiful group of persons, but here we are. But the group of the backend and API, we need to start working on. So today I will be discussing what I think is the best approach for the backend and API. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong, maybe are better options, but okay, I will do my best trying to explain what I think is it will be necessary for this. So, as we might remember, this is kind of the logic of the platform. So we have a user here. It interacts with a front end that we already built. Actually, I can go to the front end really quick. Announcement, I think so. Yeah, here we have our front end. If it didn't die, so this is our front end. So someone will, hey, launch platform, and I want to see if here happens some deforestation in this particular place. So eventually here we have a button like request analysis or some stuff like that, and maybe it will ask me to see in how much time I want to see of the analysis of this place. And from the front end, it will basically send a request to the backend of a particular endpoint of the backend. And that's basically what we will see today and how that interacts. So, and the backend, it's one of the coolest parts of this project because, yeah, everyone will love the machine learning model and try to do this part and interact with models. But the backend, because all these models are really costly. You need to put a lot of money to run these models in the cloud and have something. So what we want to achieve is have the most cheapest model running in a cloud. How? With a KW system that process one by one the request that we receive from the users. So this part is, for me, it's the most important part, the really well configured Redis system. So it's something really interesting to make. And after you make these backend endpoints API, you will gain a lot of experience relevant for job position and stuff like that. Because in any job, any work, you want to do things cheap. So this is a way to do it, and it will be awesome for your experience to have. Okay, so we have important part of the backend to understand. The first of all, we will be using FastAPI, a framework of backend that basically it creates an API, a backend with documentation and stuff like that, and endpoints, and it's really simple to config. We will see in a couple of moments how to do a really simple FastAPI backend. Then we have Redis. Also, it has a couple of little tricks, but nothing out of this world. We can set up the Redis really simple, really useful, and make this KW system. If we have time, we will set today the KW system with mocking some requests. And basically then the backend, after he processes with KW, he will send the request to the pre-processing step and then to the machine learning models. And then from the machine learning models, we will store some information in a PostgreSQL database. And this part is also important. Why? Because we want to save information from all the requests that we process. Because if two persons make a request in this place in the same time frames, like in the same month or whatever, we want to save that information here in the PostgreSQL to not process it again, because if we keep processing the same places, it's not efficient and we will not be able to process all Córdoba, for example, in one entire month. So what we want to achieve is to save metadata of the places that we already process. Normally, it will be more places that doesn't have anything, doesn't have a deforestation mapped. The most normal case, hopefully. If not, it will be really sad. So we want to save in a database, hey, I already processed this triangle or whatever we have, and it's nothing there. So that's important to know in the backend, like that we have a database, a Postgres database, that one that with the elephant, really, really funny, really nice, that we might want to take information from there. We have an initial task of the document that I create with ChatGPT, of course, of what to do here, and basically implement and optimize a robust system to manage image processing requests using Redis as a gateway system, prevent overload of machine learning models and the API, streamline backend performance with FastAPI and Redis. Okay, it sounds, so maybe if you are not really familiar with some of this work, it sounds maybe weird, maybe really difficult. Not at all. With the tools that we have today, we can configure these things without any coding, just prompting. But yeah, we will make a gateway system that process one by one. Eventually, we can process more than one by one, two by two, or stuff like that. For today's example, we will do one by one. Okay, so let's try to imagine how this will work. So we have a request from the front end that we saw in front end. Basically, what the user will give us. The user will give us a polygon, like the one that we saw, so a polygon, like this triangle of the place that he wants to analyze, and the dates. So the start date, the end date, and it could be day, it could be month, it doesn't care right now, just for you to be aware. And then, like how you call it, I have it here for the other team, the period. So I have the start day of 1 month ago, and then day today, because I want to analyze from here to the past. And the period could be monthly, so just one comparison, or I have the full year, and the period could be monthly, and it will be 12 comparisons from, we are right now in January, from January to December to November, and on and on. Or we can do it annually and just one comparison over there. So that's something that we must take into account, the period that the person wants to analyze this image. This is also important because we might be able with this model also to analyze deforestation in the long term. Maybe some deforestation, it happens in 2015, and nowadays we saw in that place a lot of urban planning there. So hey, what's happening here? urban development in the long term, or maybe agriculture, something like that. So what we will receive from the front end, this request. Basically, where we receive this in an endpoint. So first step here for us, it will be a endpoint receiving the request. The second step, let's keep it simple, but then we can go more complex. But for now, let's keep it simple. I want to test this really quick. The next step will be putting the request in the Redis. Why I am saying that let's keep it simple? Because I want to do some checks before. Because if this particular request, we already process it and we already have it in the DB, we might not, we don't want to the user keep waiting like a lot of time in the Redis gateway system. And then basically we will say, hey, it's nothing here, or we already processed. If we already processed that information and we have it in the database, we might be able to be more quick and tell him, hey, we have it here, take it. So it doesn't wait basically anytime. But let's keep it simple for now. Let's put it in the gateway system, in the Redis, and then we can go more complex. It's always good to put it in to keep it simple. So putting the request in the Redis gateway. Third step, once the gateway system starts to move forward, we want to do some, like, I don't know if the okay word is pre-process, but we want to, if we have that information, we want to give it to the user as soon as we can. So we delete one before going to the whole process that we see here. Before passing from the gateway system to the pre-process to the machine learning model, we want to see if that information it's already here in our DB. Because if we already processed this place, we want to quickly say, hey, we already have information of this place. So that's something to take into account. Analyze the request and compare it with the DB. And maybe here are more than one possibilities of analyzing this image before giving it to the full system, not just analyzing in the DB. But for now, as we said, keep it simple. Okay, when we check, hey, this particular polygon with these particular dates and these particular periods are not here, okay, I will give it to the user. So when we analyze, first step, if it's all good to go, goes to the full process. So we pass this information to the next step, that basically will be the pre-process, and then the pre-process take into account to give this information to the machine learning model. The pre-process could tell us, like, hey, if you see this arrow here, the pre-process could tell us, hey, this image, it's maybe this image is in a urban development. You are trying to compare a urban development, like already settled city. So he tell us, hey, this is not a forest. From the initial data that we want to compare, here it's already developed from a long time ago, something like that. So we have this pre-process. So before this part gives to the machine learning model, it goes back and tell us, hey, this is not able to compare. And we give a response to the user. Basically here, if I try like to do a place here, this is the middle of the city. Hey, this is a city, I cannot analyze deforestation. Maybe if you have some park, like some big park, something like that, maybe we can do it. But yeah, we will see. But that part is something that the pre-processed part takes into account. Okay, the fifth step, it's we don't want the user to waiting for his response. So we will give a kind of I forgot the name. Here, a WebSocket or a polling. So the front end or external users check the request progress. So, hey, I already did the request. Now I know that I'm waiting for the backend to give me a response. So the users knows that, hey, this is going on. It didn't fail. It didn't crash anything. You are in the KW system right now. So that's important too, because if not, the user will think, hey, this broke, this is crashed, the system is down, whatever. So that part is also really important. So the fifth step, polling or WebSocket system to keep the user updated with his request. Okay, and I think this basically, in simple terms, it's all that we need to do in the backend. What will be our output? The information pre-process for the next team. That particular, I think that I did this for another team. Yes. So the other team also receives the same thing: a request, a polygon, an initial date, an end date, and a period. We basically do the same. The same that we receive, we pass it through. But before we do some comparisons, we do some steps in the endpoint here. Okay, this looks pretty simple. So what we can actually do is go to the code here. Let me show you. I already create a branch for me to play with this and don't have any issue playing with this. As I recommend always, I'm a senior developer, but as a senior developer, I don't code. And that could be a little strange for some of you, but what I do is prompting, and I review the response of the prompt to see if it's okay. I use cursor. So what we can do here, we have here the API gateway, the backend, and the KW service. This might be a little like repetitive. The backend is really the API, so we can take the API out and we keep backend and KW service. Here we have the front end with all the development of the front end, documentation, and the model, and the pre-processed part. So yeah. Okay, so let's talk with our friend Cursor and give it information about this, and he helped us create all this. I already have a file that is calling .cursor rules, so the model knows about what we are building. So what I will do now is, from the initial task, I will copy basically everything, because right now the LLM models they have a really big windows of tokens. So I will say, hey, I'm working on the, let me, here we put the readme. You don't need to put the .cursor rules file here as context. He always have it as a context. Okay, I'm working on this project. I will build the backend with FastAPI and create the very first endpoint. And we will be clear about without authentication, just because we are in a developer mode. We don't want the authentication in the endpoints. Let's keep it simple. And also the Redis system with the GWW. I want something really simple to start and go on. Okay, so keep it short and simple, please. Here you have some information about it. Okay, so we share information. We have this. I like when I give kind of some instruction and then I put a lot of context, like a lot of context of text. I like to be repetitive with the instructions. So I copy and I paste the same instruction in the last part. Okay, so let's hit enter and let's see what it comes out. You can do this also with ChatGPT or with another AI tools. I really like Cursor just because it's nice to have the context of the code and all that stuff. I know that my image is like taking into account this part. Let me see if I can. Yeah, here, okay. So I give all that context without much thinking, just put everything. And what he does, hey, I will see your directory. He knows about all my directory, this directory. Okay, let's create a first simple FastAPI application with Redis. A simple FastAPI application with Redis gateway integration. We will need to first, let's check up and update our requirements, create a basic FastAPI, set up Redis ancillary. Let me check the first requirements, and it's this one that is getting really long. And this might be getting really long. Why? Because we are using this requirement for the backend. We are using this requirement for the pre-process, for the models. So we eventually, when we push this to production, we will do microservice. We will create different requirements for the different parts. Okay. So he created this, and he's telling me, hey, let's create the API gateway. Okay, so he is asking me, can I create this API gateway app? So the one that we delete is trying to create. So let's delete backend, and let's approve his command. What basically it does, creates API gateway here, and now he will create the main. And then we can go maybe in the next video with the creation of the DB. It's a little tricky, it's a little difficult, but also, again, with Cursor and all these AI tools, it's nothing out of this world. I really love to create DBs and Postgres DBs. It's really simple and enjoyable, at least for me. Okay, so what he said, hey, I create the main application, the main here, we have main, he is already creating the endpoint, so I will accept the file and we can see. Okay, the initialization, salary in the local in the 6379, endpoint to check it if it's the system is up, and then the process. So this will be the one that receive the request, and one for the status. We will from this one we might give back a status, a task ID, so then it can like keep checking if the request is being processed or what is happening. Okay, so then what he says, now let's create a basic task in the gateway service task. Here we see accepts file, initialize salary app, so put up the localhost 6379, and salary app function process image, where this is a placeholder, so here will be the logic to processing that we might be create later. Okay, back to the code. Now let's add another endpoint. We already see the endpoint. It's telling us about all the endpoints, get, help, to check if the system is good, submit an image for pre-processing. Actually, we will not submit an image, we will submit a polygon, but that's okay. Accelerate task. To run this, you will need to pip install. So what we will do is copy, open the terminal. Let's do pip install. Yeah, we are good. I basically have everything installed, so this is just the last one that we set up. He's telling me, hey, you can upgrade pip. Let's do it. Okay, nice. Okay. Okay, it's telling me, hey, start Redis. Make sure Redis is installed in your system. I've been working with Redis a lot. Right now, I'm working with Rabbit. It's another one similar. So I don't remember fully the commands. Okay, what's happening here? It's telling me, hey, Redis is starting, Redis version, warnings. This is telling you, hey, Redis is start, but then it's fail. Why? Maybe it's failing because I have something running in the port. So what I will do is copy this. I will share, hey, the Redis server failed. Why? Can you help me debug? I think because something might be running over there. But let's check. Okay, I have a slow request because all my tokens are gone. So sorry about that. But let's see. Okay. I see the issue from the error. Yeah. Okay, so maybe, yeah, I have Redis from other project that I was using. Yeah, but okay, so maybe it might not be needed another Redis system. Maybe it's like one general. I already forgot that sometimes. A lot of things. Okay, let's try to run Celery. Yeah. And take a look. Looks like it's running, connected to localhost 6379. We can actually No, we can actually copy this and see if something it's here. No. Yeah, I'm not really familiar with Celery, but it looks like it's everything. Celery, macfagertel.com ready. Okay, that looks nice. And from another terminal, we need to start the backend, the FastAPI. So we open a new one. Here I have Celery. In this new one, I will put the backend, and we have the backend. So here we have the backend running, and let me open it here. Yes. And what it has really nice FastAPI, and that's why I choose it, auto-generate documentation. So if we do /redoc, we already have land use change detection API, the health check that we talk about. Here you can see, then the process image. Here you see what it's waiting, submit an image for processing, return a task ID, and get task status, task ID. So one thing that I see is it's waiting a file here, but actually we want to pass through, as we did talk before, a polygon, a start date, an end date, and a period. So let's copy this. Let's come here. Let's say, hey, everything working perfect. But for the main endpoint, we don't receive an image. What we receive is this. A polygon, start date, and period. Can you make this a Pydantic model? So if you are not familiar with Pydantic, basically Pydantic is a way, I'm not sure what is Pydantic. Like, what's the definition in English? Let me show you here. It's a data validation library. So basically, if I define, hey, here you just can pass a polygon, then you cannot try to send anything. You need to give me a polygon, or if not, I will say to you, hey, this doesn't work. It's really simple to use. We will use it right now, and it's really useful to keep all the documentation and everything working. So he will say, hey, I will help you create a Pydantic model and modify the endpoint. It's updating this part. Okay, now let's update the Celery task to handle this new data structure. And we can test with a post request to process. Okay, let's see. Main, okay, here update. Here is the class, change detection request, polygon, start date and date period, and an example. And then here we have the process, endpoint, and basically the request, as we see, the request is this. So if you don't give me this information as it is, I will throw you an error that you are making some bad request. And this is for the front-end team to know exactly what we are hoping for you to give me back. And then let's see the task. Okay, here we have a lot of update stuff. We have what this Celery app is waiting, data. We have here a description, the process a change detection request. And okay, this is a placeholder for now. Yes, so here, if I refresh this part, okay, take a look here now in this endpoint, we have what we need to process a polygon, a start date, an end date, and a period. And here actually we have an example. Span all, and we will see an example. Then we can go really deep into the API documentation and make it really simple for to use. Like we can put examples in Python here, in JavaScript, and other language. But let me show you something else. Here, instead of redoc, we can use docs. And here we can actually try it out, the endpoint. Right now, we don't have any authentication, so it's like really simple. Here already, we set up something to try. So if I hit the execute button here, we will see the request here. And I think in the Celery, if we configure the logs, we will see it too. So let's try it out just for finish this. So execute, and we see the curl, that is basically the request, and we see the response, what we get here, response body, the task ID, and the status submitted. This is actually for now hard coding, because I think this it's here. No, okay, no, it creates a unique, okay, that's perfect. So here we see we receive the post in this endpoint in the perfect way. And in the Celery, we see also what we receive. So right now we have a backend with a Redis working on, really simple, really clever. We have still a lot of work to do here, but for a first really quick interaction, it's pretty straightforward. Here is the model. What it will happen if I instead of calling end date, I will call end. I might put something wrong, and that execute. I change a little bit, and I will receive the response bodies telling me, hey, field required. What is waiting in the body, it's waiting the end date. What I provide, and that. And even then we can make like the response when this fails, like, hey, you give me end date and that, but I am waiting end date. We can play a lot here. And it's really simple. You just need to prompt an LLM and it will help you to create this. Nothing outside of this world. Okay, so let's keep it simple here. Let's close the video. I hope I was clear. I'm a little tired. But I was wanting to do this video sooner than later for you to be able to start with this. Okay, bye-bye and enjoy your day.